Good afternoon, everybody. How's your Saturday going? This is your boy Robert Thomas Jr., and that's my boy Josh White over there on the other side of the camera. And this is the real news behind the news. November 22nd, 2014. This is like a weekend wrap up of all the headlines of this week that we believe is very important for the people to know about. First of all, we're going to start with some breaking news. So far, they have the grand jury in Ferguson, Missouri case where we believe Darren Wilson executed Michael Brown has failed to come up with a decision on whether or not they're going to indict Officer Wilson. Details are kind of sketchy as to when exactly they're going to do it or what's the holdup. But one thing we know, that's another day of peace in America. And also on that topic of Ferguson, Missouri, it came out yesterday that they supposed to have been foiled a bomb plot in Ferguson, Missouri. Well, I was just watching the recent CNN update on it, and basically they had this interview with one of the residents, he looked like a Latino, mixed between Latino and black young man. And he was talking, and basically he was saying, really, we all about peace here in Ferguson, Missouri. So then why is it that every headline this week is telling us prepare for all-out war? It's because the police are down there intimidating people. The police are down there being really the aggressors. There's an article that came out yesterday, and everything that I'm talking about now, I'll post up on the Real News Behind the News Facebook page so that you all can, follow along and judge these things for yourself. Because my whole objective is just to put the truth out there, or what we believe is the truth out there, to counter what it is that you're seeing on the television and reading in some of these newspapers, because it's part of the corporate media machine, which is designed and controlled really by the government to keep you programmed. That's why they call it television programming. But anyway, in Ferguson, Missouri, from the FBI to the White House, everybody is saying there's going to be some kind of disturbances. There's going to be some kind of, altercation because the people are going to start rioting. And all the thing the people doing down there is asking for justice. Because again, nobody is fully aware of exactly what happened outside of Darren Wilson and Michael Brown. But according even to their evidence that they've been leaking out, that was an execution, because after the first two shots, the whole situation should have been over with. The police job is to shoot to apprehend you, not to kill you. So again, that's another couple of days of peace in Ferguson, Missouri, around the United States, because that decision is not expected till Monday at the earliest. Now, earlier in the week, again, we're not going to spend hardly no time on the Bill Cosby subject, because again, I've said that before. My beliefs in that situation is that Bill Cosby is a victim of political persecution for speaking out against the quote-unquote elite black structure in America, from the president on down to people like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, all these other people that have sold us out, to organizations like the Democratic Party, Planned Parenthood. Come on, media, let up on Bill. If he's as guilty as you all say he is, and the truth it comes out, he then let him do his time. But you don't have to just keep bashing this man, because you stop to think about it. Heck, just a couple of years ago, y'all was still in love with him. Hell, he still got one of the top rated syndicated sitcoms on TV now. You see what I'm saying? So just raise up, cut him a little slack. You know what I'm saying? Let the courts handle it. Another item of topic of interest this week was the killing of 5 people in an Israeli Jewish temple earlier this week, when 2 Palestinian gunmen were supposed to have busted into the temple and start shooting, and 5 people were murdered. Of those 5 people, 3 of them happened to be Americans. You asked why I mentioned that last part, because I believe this part of the Jewish propaganda to give Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, excuse to continue to go back into Palestine and finish off the offensive that they had going on over 2 months ago. An offensive, by the way, that the UN is investigating now for war crimes because of what the Israelis did to the United Nations schools. I bring this up because it is very, very important. What we're seeing in Ferguson, Missouri is kind of tied to what's going on over in Israel, in Palestine. And you know what I'm saying? Because what is happening is these American police forces now are being militarized by our government and trained in the same tactics that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, uses over in Israel against the Palestinians. It's nothing but crush all opposition, and we got your back. Whatever you have to do, do it, and don't worry about the consequences, because we only give you like 3 days off with pay. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you kill somebody, then you might have to take about a month or 2 off, but you still get paid. Come on now. You know what I'm saying? But that's what's really going on over there. It's a propaganda campaign to basically, again, let them go over there and just take more of the Palestinians' land. And what you have to realize, people, is whatever the Palestinians do is not, you know what I'm saying, a good thing. But these people have no other choice but to fight the Israelis the best way they can, because they are being subjected to an occupying force. And that force is literally just taking foot by foot of their land away from them. And you have to put all these things together with other things over in the Middle East to get a bigger picture of what's going on. And what's really going on over there in that area of the world is the United States and Israel are basically on a quest. The United States owes the Israelis a lot of money, you know, under the banking system that we got set up here in America. You know, believe it or not, all your tax money, none of your tax money goes to fund social programs in America. All your tax money goes to pay on the national debt, owned by a lot of Jewish bankers, which we know as the Federal Reserve, which is a private organization. So now the Israelis are over in the Middle East, given a country, a country was given to them by Europe and the United States. They displaced all these Palestinians. Now they're on a quest to just totally eradicate them and have the whole country to themselves, saying that this is what their scriptures tell them. But at the same time, the United States is a party to it because the United States needs the help of Israel to help them go over and conquer countries like Iraq, Iran, Syria, Jordan, Yemen, spread on down to Africa. You got Libya. What is happening up under Barack Obama is the people, quote unquote, that control the world, the people behind the scene, the shadow government, the real power. These folks are on a quest to take over the natural resources of those countries. You go back to Memorandum MR 1280. I think that's the name of it. I'll put it up on the Real News Behind the News Facebook page. This is when, during the Nixon administration, they came up with a plan to basically, in order to sustain what the population in America in the future, they were going to need to take over as much of the natural resources of the third world countries as possible. But they needed a way to do this without having to actually go and fight all these wars. Because if you look at us right now, matter of fact, just yesterday it came out that Barack Obama has basically decreed a different role in Afghanistan for the United States servicemen, which, you know, on his part of his election campaign was that he was going to end the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. Now we back in both countries, and just yesterday he's saying now that he believes that we need to take a different direction and go more in a direct route of military intervention against the Taliban in Iran. When in reality, the whole situation again boils down to occupying these countries and taking their natural resources. Now, what natural resource would you say Afghanistan had? Well, Afghanistan is the world's leading producer of opium, of course. The United States government is the biggest drug dealing industry in the world, so why not stay over there in Afghanistan? People don't know this, but before we actually invaded Afghanistan, the Taliban had actually eradicated pretty much heroin production. You see what I'm saying? They control the 95% of the world's opium, so they basically shot the market down. That's one of the main reasons why the United States had to invade Afghanistan, because they needed to get their heroin flowing. Now, since the United States invaded Afghanistan, I think it was in 2002. Yeah, I think it was 2002. But either way it goes, ever since we invaded Afghanistan, the world's opium production has multiplied, to almost 100%. Well, now you got places in the world, the rate of opium addiction has increased 1,000%, right here in America. So really, that's what it's all about. You go down to Libya and Africa, what they're doing down on the continent of Africa after they unleashed the Ebola virus, which again, they're not telling you nothing about, excuse me, let me get a little shot of that coffee, but they're not telling you about how the rate of Ebola is still multiplying in places like Liberia, Sierra Leone. You don't hear nothing about it. And what it is, that goes back to making money. You see what I'm saying? They don't want to, I guess you could say, get the American consumers all frightened before Christmas time, because they need you to go out there and spend money on your Thanksgiving turkeys and on your Christmas toys. And once that happens next year, again, the Obamacare scam is going to blow up on us. All beginning next year, you're going to see the start of a change in American society. Because, as I repeat, as the whole topic of this show is about understanding what's going on overseas will help you deal with what's about to happen here in America. Because again, going back to the beginning of next year, right after the Christmas season, January 1st, you have the BRICS coalition coming online into existence. And the BRICS coalition is Brazil, Russia, Iran, and China. Whereas these countries have banded together and have basically dropped the dollar completely. And now the rest of the world is rushing to the Chinese yuan and the Russian ruble. You hear a lot of story in the American press that the Russians are doing bad. But in a sense, all numbers can lie. It depends on who's giving you the numbers. If the number giver is a lie, then your number's gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? But what is actually happening is the Japanese has already approached the second strongest currency in the world. And I think at last, I'm not sure, I'll go back and check this out, but I'm pretty sure that they have passed the United States as far as the strength of their currency. Russia is coming up quickly in the top 6 right now. But the United States dollar is actually dropping. Well, you say, how is that? Gas is cheaper and all this? Yeah, the only reason why gas is cheaper, again, going back to world events. And the Saudi Arabians are pumping more and more oil into the system now to counteract the Russian sanctions. You see, what the United States did, we put these sanctions against the Russians thinking that we was going to hurt them, but now we hurting all of Europe because the Europeans are used to getting their oil and gas from the Russians. Now, according to their sanctions and their affiliation with the United States, they can't buy the Russian oil or gas. But the Russian oil and gas is some of the cheapest in the world on the market. So right now, we have Saudi Arabia pushing out so much oil that, of course, it's worthless a barrel, so of course the price goes down at the pump. But people must understand this, that the true economic indicator of economy is your food prices and your energy prices. These things have gone up exponentially over the last year to about the point where literally you can get 2 gallons of gas cheaper than you can 1 gallon of milk. So again, everything that we tell you here at the Real News Behind the News fits in to one big puzzle. We don't just tell you the one piece of the puzzle that you get here on the American mainstream media, and that's twisted when you get it. You see what I'm saying? We tell you all the pictures from what's happening with the coming war with Russia and China. Again, that's the BRICS coalition. To what's going on with Israel, the militarization and the annihilation of the Palestinians, how it translates to what's going on here, whereas the militarization of our police, you see what I'm saying, the cheaper oil and gas prices over here because of what is happening over in Russia. Now, what you watch for in Russia is the situation in the Ukraine. See, the United States, especially if you listen at Fox, you starting to hear the propaganda machine just roll up and the drums of war just start beating against Russia. they're doing everything that they can to try to change that regime in Russia because of the climb of the Russian ruble against the United States dollar. The Russians are doing far better than what they're telling us here on American media. They want us to think those poor dirty Russians, those communists, they're just trying to take over the Ukraine and then eventually take over the rest of it. No, that's not what's happening. The United States is going broke and cannot compete against the Russians or the Chinese. That's why they got that they're subverting the Chinese government and Russian government right now. In China, they're doing it through those student-led protests, and in Russia, they're doing it with Ukraine. And again, what's behind that is the dollar is crashing. The United States owe the banks so much money, they got to pay up. So the best way they can pay up, you know what I'm saying, is to loot all these other countries. Now, when the Ukraine comes in, part of the Ukraine wants to remain neutral to the European and United States type of banking system, and the other part wants to go with Russia. So now that they split, the United States is trying to get this part of Ukraine back because it's a key corridor to that oil flow from Russia. So what they're doing in American media is trying to get us all agitated, thinking that the Russians are the ones who's initiating the situation in Ukraine, but it's really the United States and Europe trying to basically take that part of the Ukraine back that annexed and succeeded itself and joined alliance with Russia. So again, they can control the oil supply coming into all Europe and they can get the money off of it. I know all this that I said today sounds confusing, but we took this episode here to give you a little bit more in detailed depth of why it is that we bring these worldwide stories and can join them with the national story. Because again, you'll never see the bigger picture if you just continue to look at one piece of the puzzle. You have to put all this stuff together to actually understand what's going on. We're being programmed and brainwashed by our government using our television, our radio, and other forms of media to do it. And they're hiding the truth as to what the real mission is over in Iraq, Iran, Syria, Russia, China, down in Brazil, in Mexico. I'm going to give you an example of two examples. In Europe, you all might be familiar with the recent vote in, I think it was Switzerland. Well, no, it wasn't Switzerland. Anyway, one of the countries in Europe, I posted up on the Facebook page, just remember. One of those countries, what country was that, Josh? We were just talking about it the other day. But anyway, they want to secede. Now, they want to do just like the Ukraine because they, no, I think it was Sweden. Yeah, Sweden. No, Scotland. Yes, Scotland. I think it. The Scottish people had a referendum that the European, Great Britain, stole the election from them. But they was voting to secede from Europe because they're tired of the banking system that's linked to the European nations and the United States. So they keep that from you. Then also the fact that there's about 15 other countries with massive protests right now in Europe, all with the same, basic motif to break away from the banking structure that's controlling those countries. Now down here, right below us in Mexico, we all familiar that Obama just last night gave amnesty to 5 million illegal immigrants. But down in Mexico, there's supermassive protests spreading throughout that whole country because for students who were very vocal against the drug trade, they had probably enough information to expose the Mexican government, the Mexican cartels, and members of the United States government. Now, these folks came up dead 2-3 months ago. Now they got over 200,000-300,000 people riding and looting in the streets down in Mexico, in the capital city. You know what I'm saying? They warning you not to go to Acapulco now. I mean, things are so bad in Mexico, but they don't tell us these things. They don't tell us that up under this immigration plan, the United States and Mexico has a joint little side deal, whereas the United States is actually paying the government of Mexico to help get these immigrants up here. And with the reason why this immigration bill is so important, it's not about, we don't want you don't want them to help them people that want to help them. So no, it ain't about that. What this is all about is the breaking down of the American border, and using Barack Obama, they basically or put them in a point where they're globalizing us right before our eyes. We are no longer a sovereign nation in a sense. We are becoming part of a global community. So in order to break down the nation's identity and its culture and its history, what they do is flood all the immigrants from all over the world into that country, and it breaks down the language. I mean, it's this, it breaks down the language barriers, because now look at, they want to teach a kid Spanish almost as a primary language in America. You see what I'm saying? So it's all part of a globalist plan to basically enslave all humanity. It sounds crazy, but that's actually what it is. It's a fiendish plot. And this is what I'm going to post under John F. Kennedy 1961 speech of the conspiracy to take over the world through military means, through intelligence, through basically, torture, intimidation, whatever means this secret society see fit to basically reduce the population of Earth and control that which is left and all the resources of the earth. This is what these folks are going to do. So using situations like Ferguson, Missouri, the political situation here in America, whether you're Republican or Democrat, whether you're gay or straight, whether you're pro or anti-abortion, they need us distracted and fighting each other so that they can continue to go out and do what it is they're doing overseas and here in America to enslave us all. And the last only hope that we had in America, it was the United States Constitution. And, presidents before him have done the same thing, but basically last night, Barack Obama just tore up the United States Constitution. And that's why we talk a lot about the immigration situation. With that, we're going to wrap it up. I know this might be one of the most boring episodes we did, but if you can grasp on to what I was saying, from this point on, you'll be able to catch hold to what we are going to be bringing in the future, because we're going to step up our efforts to present more and more of the world headlines, tie them in with national headlines, and show you the plan for the globalists to eventually put this microchip into your hand in probably about the next 2 years. And that's how you're going to get paid. All your money, your transactions is going to be done through electronic currency, stuff like that. We're going to be bringing that to your attention. So with that, again, I'm your boy, Robert Thomas Jr. That's my boy, Josh White, behind the camera. This is The Real News, Behind the News. Y'all have a blessed and wonderful day.